There is a moment, just before sleep takes you, when the world dissolves into something softer. The edges of reality blur, and for a fleeting second you hover at the threshold. Neither here nor there, neither awake nor dreaming. It is in this fragile silence that a question sometimes flickers to life, so quiet you might mistake it for your own breath. What was there? Before there was anything at all. We spend our lives tracing the contours of existence, touching, naming, believing in the solidity of things. But beneath it all, there is an older silence, a nothingness so vast, it defies even the word nothing, because to name it would mean it was something. And yet, we cannot help but wonder, what lingers in the echoes of that void? Imagine standing at the edge of an abyss, not a physical one, no rocky cliffs, no roaring winds, but an abyss of time itself, a place where the very concept of before begins to unravel. Science tells us that time, as we know it, was born alongside the universe. The Big Bang was not just the birth of matter and energy, but of time's arrow, too. There was no before, because there was no time for a before to exist within. And yet the mind rebels. It stumbles over the idea of a true beginning, because beginnings imply a moment just prior, a breath held in anticipation. We are haunted by the sense that something must have preceded. Not a god, not a creator, but something. A shadow of a question. A silence so deep, it becomes a kind of presence. Perhaps this is why ancient myths speak of primordial waters, of cosmic eggs, of endless nights that existed before the dawn of worlds. They are not just stories. They are the mind's desperate attempt to fill the silence with something, anything, to make the void feel less alone. There is a theory, whispered in the halls of theoretical physics, that our universe is not the first nor the last, but one in an endless cycle of births and deaths, a cosmic heartbeat. In this view, the Big Bang was not the beginning, but a rebirth. The universe before ours collapsed, and from its ashes, our own reality flickered to life. But here, too, the question persists. What came before that universe? And the one before it? The cycle stretches back, an infinite regression, until the very idea of before loses all meaning. It is like trying to find the source of a river that has no end, no beginning, only an endless flow. And so we are left with a paradox. The deeper we dig, the more the ground dissolves beneath us. The closer we get to the answer, the more the question changes shape. Some have dared to suggest that nothingness itself is not empty, that even in the absence of time, of space, of matter, there is a kind of potential, a seething, invisible sea of quantum fluctuations, where particles flicker in and out of existence, borrowing energy from nowhere, repaying it just as quickly. In this view, the universe did not emerge from nothing. It emerged from a different kind of something, a something so alien we lack the language to describe it. But language, too, is a creature of this world. It is bound by the rules of our existence. To speak of what came before is to impose order on a realm that may operate beyond all logic, all causality. It is like trying to paint the wind. There is a story, apocryphal perhaps, about the philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein. When asked what he thought lay beyond the limits of the universe, he replied, "Whereof one cannot speak, thereof one must be silent." And yet, silence is not nothing. Silence hums with its own presence. It is the space between musical notes that gives them meaning, the pause between heartbeats that makes them count. So perhaps the answer is not in the finding, but in the asking, in the act of standing at the edge of that abyss, not to conquer it, but to listen, to hear, in the echoes of nothing, the faintest whisper of a question we will never fully understand, but cannot stop longing to ask. The night sky, when you truly stare into it, does not feel like emptiness. It feels like a presence, a vast breathing thing, ancient, patient, watching back. We call it space, but that word is too sterile, too indifferent. It does not capture the weight of all that darkness, nor the way it seems to pull at something deep inside us. And so we return to the question, like fingers tracing the edge of an old wound. What was there before the stars? Before the light? Before the heat? Before the very idea of before? Perhaps the answer lies not in the grand equations of physics, but in the quiet corners of human experience. In the way a memory can feel both real and impossibly distant, like a dream half remembered upon waking. Think of the oldest memory you possess. Not the one you've been told about, not the photograph you've seen 100 times, but the first flicker of awareness you can recall, a moment of color, of sound, of warmth. Now try to reach further back. What was there just before that? The mind strains. It is like trying to see the back of your own head. There is a threshold beyond which memory dissolves into something shapeless, something that might as well be nothing at all. And yet, the absence of memory is not proof of absence. Just because you cannot recall it does not mean it wasn't there. The universe, too, may carry echoes of its own forgotten infancy. Not in stories or photographs, but in the faintest tremors of energy, the afterglow of its birth. The cosmic microwave background, the oldest light we can observe, is often called the echo of the Big Bang. But an echo implies an original sound, a sound that has long since faded into silence. What was that sound? There are places on Earth where time behaves strangely, deep caves where the air is so still, so untouched, that it feels as if you've stepped outside of history. The Arctic tundra, where the sun never sets, and the concept of day loses all meaning. The bottom of the ocean, where creatures live in perpetual darkness, unaware that a surface even exists. These places are mirrors. They show us, in small and fleeting ways, what it might be like to exist outside the flow of time as we know it, to be unshackled from before and after, to simply be. If the universe was born from nothingness, then that nothingness was not a void in the way we imagine. It was not an empty room. It was something far stranger, a place without place, a time without time. A state where the very rules of reality had not yet been written. How does one begin to describe such a thing? Language falters here. We speak of before existence, but the word before is a creature of time, and time did not yet exist. We speak of nothing, but nothing is a concept born from the contrast with something. In the absence of both, what remains? Some traditions speak of this state as a dream, a cosmic sleep, where all possibilities existed at once, tangled together like roots beneath the soil. Others describe it as a kind of yearning, an unfulfilled desire for form, for definition. A universe, waiting to wake up. And perhaps, in a way, that is the closest we can come to understanding. The birth of existence was not an explosion, not a beginning, but an unfolding. A shift from potential to reality, from silence to sound. But here, the mystery deepens. Because if the universe emerged from potential, then that potential must have always been there, lurking in the fabric of nothingness itself, waiting. There is a thought experiment in quantum physics called vacuum decay. It suggests that our universe may not be truly stable, that it exists in a fragile, temporary state, and that somewhere, far beyond our reach, a different kind of nothingness could be spreading. A true nothingness, one that erases not just matter, but the very laws of physics. In this scenario, The void is not empty, it is hungry. It is a chilling idea, but also a strangely beautiful one, because it implies that existence is not guaranteed, that it is, in some way, a defiance, a spark in the dark. And if that is true, then the echoes of nothing are not just remnants of the past. They are all around us even now, a whisper beneath the surface of things, reminding us of what could have been, and what might still be. There is a peculiar kind of silence that exists between two thoughts. Not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of transition, when one idea has faded, but the next has not yet formed. In that fragile space, if you listen closely, you might hear it. The faintest hum of what could have been. This is where our search leads us now, not backward into the past, but into the spaces between, the gaps, the pauses. Because if we want to understand nothingness, we must learn to see the shapes it leaves behind, like studying the hollows in a fossil to understand the creature that once was. Consider the humble atom. We imagine it as solid, dependable, the building block of all things. But peer closer, and it dissolves into something far stranger. A nucleus, yes, but surrounded by a cloud of electrons that do not so much exist as flutter between possibilities. They are not objects, but tendencies, not things, but probabilities. And between these particles, emptiness, vast, incomprehensible emptiness. The distance between an electron and its nucleus is like the distance between stars, a void so immense it makes the solidity of matter seem like an illusion, which, perhaps, it is. This is the first whisper of nothingness. It is not out there, beyond the edges of the universe. It is here, in every inch of the world we call real. We are not just surrounded by emptiness. We are made of it. There is an ancient Buddhist concept called sunyata, often translated as emptiness. But it does not mean nothingness in the Western sense. It is closer to the idea that all things exist in relation to other things. That there is no permanent, independent essence to anything. A table is only a table because we agree to call it that, to perceive it that way. Strip away those perceptions, and what remains? This is not nihilism. It is something far more unsettling and far more beautiful. It suggests that existence and non-existence are not opposites, but two faces of the same mystery, that the void is not absence, but potential. Apply this to our question, and the universe before existence begins to shift. It was not a blank page, but a canvas of pure potential, not a static nothing, but a seething, shimmering almost. Modern physics offers its own version of this idea. Quantum fluctuations, particles blinking in and out of existence, borrowing energy from nowhere, suggest that even in a perfect vacuum, there is no true stillness. The void is alive with activity. A quantum foam, bubbling with virtual particles that appear and vanish too quickly to be measured. This changes everything. Because if nothingness is not inert, then perhaps the birth of the universe was not a singular event, but an inevitability, one fluctuation among countless others, except this one, by chance, or by some law we do not yet understand, did not collapse back into the void. It grew. It became. We are here, because nothingness could not stay still. But this leads us to a darker thought. If universes can emerge from quantum foam, then ours may not be unique. There could be countless others, blooming and fading like bubbles in a dark sea. Some might harbor life. Most would be barren. All would be separated by layers of reality we cannot cross. This is the second whisper of nothingness. It is not just behind us, but alongside us. an infinite array of unrealized possibilities pressing in from all sides. The sense that our universe is not special, not central, but simply one possibility that happened to take form. It should feel lonely, and yet there is a strange comfort in it. Because if existence is this fragile, this improbable, then every moment becomes a kind of miracle. The fact that there is something, that you are here to ponder this at all, is against all odds. Now comes the hardest question of all. If the void gave birth to us once, could it take us back? Some theories suggest that the vacuum of space is not perfectly stable, that somewhere a bubble of true nothingness could form and expand at the speed of light, rewriting reality as it goes. There would be no warning. One moment, existence. The next, an unfathomable absence. This is not science fiction. It is a legitimate, if speculative, possibility within quantum field theory. The universe could end not with a bang, but with a correction. But here is the final whisper, the one that lingers. Even if this happens, even if all existence is erased, the potential remains. The quantum foam would still simmer. The dance of virtual particles would continue. And somewhere, in the depths of that perfect nothing, another universe might begin. We are not just made of stardust. We are made of the void's restless dreaming. There is a moment in every deep dive into the unknown when the questions begin to change shape. When what was before quietly becomes, why does before matter? When the search for origins transforms into something more intimate, a mirror held up to our own fleeting presence in the cosmic story. We have wandered to the edge of the abyss together. We have stared into the void and seen how it stares back. Now, as we prepare to step away from the precipice, there is one final truth to confront. The mystery of what came before existence was never really about the past. It is about now, about the fragile, shimmering present we inhabit. This fleeting dream between two eternities of silence. Think of the oldest tree in the world. Its rings contain millennia of history, droughts and storms, years of abundance and years of hunger. But at the very center, a single unbroken point where the rings converge, the moment of its beginning. Now imagine trying to find what came before that point, before the seed, before the soil that nourished it, before the sunlight that reached through the canopy. The further back you go, the more the trail dissolves into interconnected threads, until you're left with a truth both simple and profound. Every beginning depends on something prior, but existence itself may be the one exception. Some traditions speak of creation as a kind of forgetting, that to become a universe, the void had to forget its own infinite potential, to narrow itself into stars and planets and living things. In this view, we are not just inhabitants of the cosmos, but its memory of emptiness. Each time we gaze at the night sky with wonder. Each time we feel the ache of a question with no answer. Each time we create art or music or love from the raw materials of chaos, we are whispering back to the void, reminding it of what it chose to become. Modern physics offers a startling parallel. The holographic principle suggests that all the information in our three-dimensional universe might be encoded on a two-dimensional surface at its boundary. That everything we experience, every mountain, every ocean, every beating heart, is a kind of projection. If this is true, then the echo of nothingness isn't just around us. It might literally be beneath our feet, written into the fabric of reality itself, the universe remembering its own origins by forgetting them perfectly. So where does this leave us? With more questions than answers, certainly, but also with something more valuable. A different way to see the world. The chair you're sitting on isn't just solid, it's mostly empty space, held together by forces we barely understand. The air you breathe isn't just air. It's the remnants of ancient stars. The thoughts you're having right now aren't just electrical impulses. They're the universe's way of contemplating itself. And the silence between those thoughts? That's the closest we ever get to touching what was before. As our journey ends, consider this. Perhaps the purpose of asking about origins was never to find an answer. Perhaps the question itself is the gift, a reminder that we are temporary creatures in an eternal story, that our brief flicker of awareness is the universe's way of giving the void a voice. So the next time you find yourself staring at the stars or pausing in the space between two thoughts, remember, you are not just looking into the abyss. You are the abyss looking back. And in that moment, across the vast expanses of time and nothingness, the universe remembers what it was like to dream.